just a moment. Thank you, Mary Angela, for that. I want to take a moment to thank Mary Angela, whether you realize it or not, and if you don't have to know her for very long to realize this, but she is a master communicator and connector. So she may not be the wild, crazy, dance on the bars kind of gal, although talk to her husband because there are stories. She connects people like I have never seen, and she does it in such a subtle, graceful way. It's powerful. And in fact, she's the reason why I have a 7-year relationship with St. Catherine, because she saw me somewhere and in 2008 invited me to start being a guest professor at the Leadership Institute, and other stories have come from that relationship. So I thank you very much for the mentor and friend that you are, Mary Angela. So it's my honor to be your closer today with our featured guest, Nikki Sorum. Now, you may not realize from looking at her, but she was quite the gymnast as a young one. In fact, as a young child, she performed tumbling acts set to the tune of her mother's accordion. Visualize that for a moment. The tumbling dropped off, but she picked up saxophone, which she played in the marching band for the University of Minnesota during college. Now, her Pelican Rapids, Minnesota roots keep her very grounded in the real world, in spite of her move to England after she got her MBA from Harvard. Turns out UK really meant a bit of destiny for her, because that is where she met her husband Simon. That union has lasted more than 20 years, and as many might agree, that is in itself is its own tumbling act. Together, Nikki and Simon have 3 energetic but seriously well-traveled children who keep them busy. This highly educated, family-oriented, fun woman is what Nikki brings to the financial industry since the late 80s. Her current position at Thrivent Financials is Divisional Vice President for the Midwest, and she actually oversees 1,000 people. She's responsible for 1,000 people. Let's think about that for a moment. There are 1,000 people at Thrivent who hope Nikki does not screw up. Now, Thrivent has counted on her since 2002, and today it's a real treat because you're going to hear from this very real woman about real leadership and what it means to be a leader. Please welcome Nikki Sorum. Of course. All right, I'm so excited to talk with you today and share some of your story with these amazing women here. I want to first understand, we've heard a little bit about your background, we've read a little bit about it. How did you really get there? You know, in kind of a snapshot. What made you get to this day?
Wow, okay. So I would be a farm kid with hard work and some brains. You know, I think the brains part is probably a gift from God. The hard work is, you know, that Midwestern work ethic that we have. I grew up in Pelican Rapids. In fact, one of your St. Kate's bigwigs is Marlene Mose. Maybe some of you might know her. She and I were out of the Pelican Rapids High School graduating class in 1979. And I think from that small Midwestern town, you know, we were growing up on farms, we worked really hard, we learned the value of education, so education was just really important. I went to the University of Minnesota, only kid in my high school class that went there, which was kind of amazing. Worked, got a job right out of school. I was pretty lucky. It was at the height of the recession. Interest rates were, I don't know, 18% or something like that. So it was a really bad recession. And ended up working at IDS, Ameriprise. That's kind of how I found financial services. And I'm working there, and I'm watching people. How many of you are going to night school? Like quite a few? Hands up? Yeah, quite a few. I looked at the folks going to night school, and I thought, oh my, that looks really, really hard. Like working during the day, going to night school. And so I thought, I'm going to go get my master's. I'm going to get my MBA. I'm going to go to the cheapest, best business school that I can find, because I don't want to go at night. So I applied to several. For some odd reason, I got into Harvard, so I went there.
Maybe let go of it cheap.
Yeah, I realized it wasn't anything like cheap, so I go to Harvard. And I think it's a combination of kind of hard work, and I was lucky enough, I think, a gift from God. I studied pretty well, and I think education has been really crucial. The part about the English husband, I'm married really well. I'm not talking financially or anything like that, but I just have this wonderful man, Simon Foster. We've been married 25 years this October. And I see these young ladies here. And he's been my biggest fan, really, club, and just supporting me and helping me. We both juggle. He has a big job. If any of you have heard of Simon Delivers, he's the Simon of Simon Delivers. Yeah. So I was in the finance world. I paid the bills. He was working at Pillsbury. He did the food. And I said, honey, you're going to go buy groceries. He would load the kids up, go buy groceries. And he said it was such a nightmare that he thought, I'm going to start a company so I don't have to go buy groceries.
So speaking of those kids, I kind of feel sorry for these three. My God, with parents like this, it's hard to bring home a beat.
Well, okay, so I'm on the way to school today. Somebody over here has a 15-year-old. You have a 15-year-old. Okay, I have a 15-year-old and two other older kids. You guys down here are older than 15, right? Yeah. You would not say this to your mom. So I'm in the car driving them to school, off to work, and I say, you know, Lucas, I'm doing this leadership thing this afternoon, and I really want to do a good job, and they're going to ask me what my leadership style is, and what would you say? Dictatorship. He looks up from his game and he says, dictatorship.
I'm kind of proud of him that he knew that that was a leadership.
So I was going to say, really? And he said, well, like you kind of let Dad think that he makes a few decisions. But with me, it's total dictatorship. And I looked at him and I said, benevolent dictatorship? Maybe. I was testing, do you know what that word means? You know, kind of like nice and friendly, loving dictatorship? Sometimes. Then he went back to his game, so maybe you don't want me anymore.
No, it's real. This is real talk, right? That's why we've got the water settled in, the cushy chairs. All right, so you are the senior leader, 1,000 people, being responsible for 1,000 people. When you started down that, road where you're getting educated, getting your MBA and beyond, did you aspire to be the senior executive?
So one of my jobs, beyond the farm, my first job ever was working at Lake Lida Fishing Lodge. And it was guys coming like for the week to go fishing walleye in Lake Lida. And I was 13 years old, $1.50 an hour. I was cleaning these cabins, and honest to goodness, I found things that 13-year-old girls should not see in these cabins. These guys were like grilling steaks without a broiler pan. It was kind of crazy. Anyway, I decided I know I'm always going to work, so I think I want to work for more than $1.50 is what I thought. And I didn't know what I would do, but I always knew that I would work hard, and I thought maybe I could make more money than $1.50 per hour. I never thought I would be a senior executive. I mean, my dad was a teacher, my stepfather was a teacher, my mom was a stay-at-home. My mom graduated in like 1959. In 1959, your options were being a teacher or a nurse. She didn't want to be either one. I see some heads nodding. So she got married and had kids. She eventually ended up getting her CPA degree. But, I lived in this little town. I had no clue. Going on an escalator or an elevator was a big deal, like when I went to college. So I didn't know what a bagel was from Pelican Rapids. True story.
I think they do know now.
I do know now what a bagel is. Yeah.
So you're in this track, and there are a lot of women here who are making that decision. Do I go the executive track? Do I put myself in the running? And we always want people to be challenged. This morning, Jerlyn talked about your talents, your job, but your gift is really what you hone and what you should share with the world. So what's your advice to women who are contemplating this right now?
I love Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In. I think it's a fabulous read. And she's COO of Facebook. Do you know she's married to her husband is from the Twin Cities area? Kind of cool. Graduated from a local high school here. I think her book is fabulous. And it might seem like out of reach when you think of her being a COO, but her whole message about leaning in, we women were always juggling everything, right? And I don't know, the world needs us. The world needs us to be leaders. It needs this table of young women here. We need you to be great. And I think that whole notion of leaning in is a really important one. You you may not always have like a neat house. Maybe the closets won't be clean, you know, stuff, it won't be perfect,
You
it'll
may
be
have to have
messy.
your groceries delivered.
You might have to have your groceries delivered, you know? But the world needs us to lean in. I really love the book if you haven't read it.
All right, so you're challenging those out there who are
Absolutely.
thinking about the executive track. And maybe there's another analogous situation in the nonprofit world or other worlds, but really pushing yourself to share the gift.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned Sheryl Sandberg, and there is this phenomenon in a lot of companies where as soon as a woman speaks up, she's shot down or interrupted, doesn't get to finish her thought. What is that climate like at Thrivent, and how do you make sure women's voices are heard at the table?
Yeah. So maybe I'll set the stage a little bit. Most of the companies that I've worked at have been very male-oriented. I think my organization is probably 85% male. In fact, I sometimes tease some of my folks that we are male, pale, and stale. Now, I love some of my 50-something white guys, and I find myself in that age group too. But I work with a lot of guys. And these articles about women talking up and then, you know, getting negative vibes from that versus not talking up, it frankly makes me want to shriek and just scream that stuff is still going on. You know, I think as a leader and frankly as a participant at the table, there are ways that you can help some of this stuff. Even little things like making sure that people aren't interrupting is in the article. Giving people a minute or two to actually take some thoughts down. Take a minute before, like if you're in a meeting and you're asking a question, you've got somebody dominating. Have everybody take a minute or two just to think on their own, or maybe talk to their neighbor. We do a lot of that at Thrivent. We'll do a lot of talk at your table, come up with one question, so you can get smaller groups, and maybe you can get the introverts speaking up a little bit too. There are dynamics and ways that you can deal with it. It just makes me completely frustrated that this stuff still goes on. Maybe your generation won't have to deal with this as much. We've got this lovely table of young high school kids up here that I'm pointing to.
You'll have to go spread yourselves around afterward.
Yeah.
So we all hear that there are these moments, these I wish someone would have told me this before.
Yeah.
Did you have any of those?
Wish you would have told me stuff before. I took this very seriously, especially after Lucas, and so I took a few notes. You know, I have several. There's a lot of research that says that women are usually more competent, but the men are more confident. I definitely see this in my 3 kids. I have a girl and 2 boys. My daughter, who's this amazing A student and going to Morocco for a world mathematical computing contest, is always like, Mom, was that okay? Was I good enough? Like, it just drives me nuts. My boys are like, I got this. I'm good. I know what to do. I even see it within this dynamics in my own family. And I think there are ways that we women can amp our confidence. A couple things that I've realized. Number one, if you job interviews, do you know that women will wait until they meet like 9 out of 10 criteria before they put their name in a hat? Why is that? Guys will have 4 out of 10 and they're like, I got this. I'm the person. So I would challenge yourself. Don't have to be 90 or 95% ready to actually go for it. Push yourself. You know, the other thing that you can do is, there is a fabulous TED Talk. Has anybody watched the Amy Cuddy TED Talk? I see a few heads. Yeah, maybe some have. If you haven't, it's not that long. It's an HBS professor. The tone of it basically is kind of fake it till you make it. And there's like body language stuff. Yeah, I see at the back. This woman is going, yeah. Literally at Thrivent, we would go like, yay. Basically, she's done a lot of research on how do you help tell your brain that you are competent and you are confident. There's ways you can do it. Simple little video. Watch it if you haven't. So,
Well, that brings me to something that really intrigued Mary Angela and me when you shared with us this sweet spot analysis that you put people through. And I recommend that you pull out your little notebooks and your folders for this because it's 3 parts, very easy, and it's intriguing. So why don't you share that sweet spot analysis?
yeah. This is something we do at Private. I think it's really helpful. You know, in the 21st century, we're not going to be the company man, right? We're not going to work at the same job for 40 years. So you really have to know, like, who are you? What is your sweet spot? And clearly Roshini has figured that out as I've chatted with her and what she loves. So imagine 3 circles, and they're overlapping to some degree, sort of interlocking circles. And then on the first circle, so you should be asking yourself, the question that you would ask yourself is, what are you passionate about? That'd be the first circle. I'll outline all 3 and then I'll come back to it. The second one would be, what are you truly gifted at? You know, Geraldine spoke this little bit.
It's like I'm having chills because they didn't even talk to each other, and we're coming back full circle because Geraldine started us on this journey this morning.
So second one, you know, what are you truly gifted at? What are you uniquely gifted? If you ask your friends and family and they say, what are you really good at? What do they say? So that's kind of the second circle. The third one is, what does your organization or your family or the world, you know, in my case, I'd ask myself, what does Thrivent need from me? And from there, you get a sense of what is of value, what is truly valued. If you're home with kids, it might be, what does your family need from you? If you don't know yet, it might be, what does the world value? So you basically go through a self-discovery process of figuring out what are those answers to those 3 questions. And your sweet spot is the intersection between those 3 circles. If you can find out something that you're passionate about, something that you're truly gifted at, and something that the world needs, you're going to be able to set yourself up for a lot of success over the coming years. That's what we try to do at Thrivent.
And then how does that play out in the real world? So okay, we can have these pie in the sky, literally 3 pies, and where they intersect, that's our sweet spot. You like that, Dr. Berna? Where then do you take that in the practical and the tactical?
Well, you know, Roshini doesn't know that I have this, but
Oh gosh.
literally, so from doing the sweet spot stuff, I figured out that my purpose, or why I'm here, at least at Thrivent, my purpose is to inspire and equip those I work with to achieve their goals. And I literally, like, this is my little weekly sheet. I like that it's pink, right? Isn't that cool? And on my purpose, I have the values that mean a lot to me. I picked up 5 of them. There's an exercise you can do for that. And I literally have my goals for this year. And you know, the world is a really busy place. And there's so much coming flooding at you. And so I literally every week, on Sunday, I'll sit down and I'll plan out what am I going to do? What are my key priorities? What do I got to do? I got lists on here. But I try to keep this right up at the top so I remember what I am about. So this is one way that, at least in my simple mind, I just kind of keep myself focused. And it's helped.
Well, that's awesome because it's the practical. You can have these kind of big, lofty intentions, but then you have to practically bring it out there. So one of the concepts that I talk about with my clients and my students is owning your wow. And before you can own your wow, you have to go way back to really defining your space, then owning that space and becoming a master of it, and then owning the wow. Now, everyone in here has a wow of some kind, whether you figured it out or not. In this world, it's unfortunate that women don't own their wow as much as I would love them to own their wow. So what's your advice? You have, you've got 1,000 people you got to worry about every day. How do you inspire those 1,000 as well as others in your life to own their wow?
Wow, that is a big question. Owning your wow. For me, it sounds kind of intimidating to have 1,000 people, and by the way, a couple of our finalists are right over here.
Wave.
Yeah, Elizabeth and Jody are right over here, and they're awesome. One of my most important jobs is to make really great people decisions. So the folks that I bring on board, I think that's 70% of the answer as a leader and how to manage your wow. If you can get the right people on the bus, the proverbial bus, everything goes so much easier. People who are the right culture fit, people who have a history of success. That is one, at least for me, if I can do that, the wow kind of cascades because you've got good people working with you.
So speaking of success, how do you define success?
Well, okay, success is a very personal thing, right?
And doesn't it evolve?
And it changes over time. So one thing that I've done, I don't know, any of you remember the recession when the unemployment is going way up and it's kind of a scary time, and you hear bankers saying they're going and getting like thousands of dollars of money out of an ATM. It was a very scary time, 2008, 2009. And if you measured your wealth just by the stock market, or measured your success, that would be a really bad thing. One thing that I have also done is just trying to figure out like really what matters to me. What are my values? I clearly have a value of family, of meaningful work, of being healthy, acting with integrity, giving back. And I literally will try to figure out how do I measure my success against those things. Now I try not to measure my kids' success by getting A's in school. That's not probably going to be a healthy thing. So you got to pick the right metrics on this stuff. I think success is a very personal thing, and it's got to line back up with your values. A few things that I would observe is I think you get into trouble when you try to just go for